The views and opinions expressed on the Middle Class VO podcast are solely those of the hosts and guests. Any feelings hurt therein are an unfortunate byproduct of the quest for infotainment. Also, please be reminded that concerted efforts have been made so as not to put anyone's knickers in a twist. Having one's knickers in a twist is not an objective or goal. However, if your knickers are in a twist and it persists for more than 4 hours, please seek out a physician. Moreover, if anyone were to feel besmirched by any of the commentary on the Middle Class VO podcast, it would be purely coincidental. No besmirchment is intended. Please enjoy.
Oh my gosh, what is a pay-to-play, Bobby? Describe it. Tell me what a pay-to-play is in your mind.
Oh, it's where you actually pay a fee to be able to get auditions, and you're on a roster where those come in.
Lies. All lies. It's a scam. No, I'm just kidding. It's ruining the business. It's not ruining the business.
It is the business.
It is the business. This is the Middle Class VO podcast.
If you need e-learning, we're just an email away. Corporate narration, tell us what to say. Explainer video, imaging radio, slinging local cars, reading IVR. No, we ain't no stars. This is the Middle Class VO podcast. The Middle Class VO podcast. The Middle Class VO podcast.
Bobby Maxwell in Cincinnati, Kevin Kilpatrick in Nashville. It's the Middle Class VO podcast, and we are very excited to have a guy on that I have known of since 1985, probably, and that's going back a long time. Kevin West, he is the managing partner of VOplanet.com, is joining us. Kev, I got to ask you. First, I got to ask you, are you flying with geese right now?
Kevin, I'm sorry, man. Let me close the door. It's those damn seagulls again. Hang on.
Caw-caw! Caw-caw!
Best podcast start ever.
I'm in Florida. I took time to get rid of the kids, but I didn't think about the seagulls. So
It's great. It's magic.
thank you for having me today. I'm so sorry to wreck the beginning of your program.
No, it's all good. This is what it's all about. We love it. And Kev, I don't know if you know, but I listened to you and Jeff Bell and Tom Michaels on 98 Rocks when I was in high school and in my early college days when I was a radio neophyte. I loved listening to you guys, and you guys were the gold standard at the time.
Dear Lord, how old am I? Where were you? Where were you listening?
I was listening from the hotbed of country music, Magnolia, Arkansas, and I was on air at the Country Missile KMSL Country Music Powerhouse. Perhaps you've heard of it. Probably not.
Absolutely. I tuned in every time I was in Magnolia.
Oh, that's so great.
No,
so,
that's
so
awesome.
Kev,
It's not a lot of people know my background, especially not that specifically. And but we're all from radio, which is a good point that I think I wanted to make this morning. So thank you for listening. Due to the my friends at Clear Channel, I quit the business some time ago and started doing voiceover. But that's where I started. Absolutely, 98 Rocks in Shreveport, Louisiana. That's it.
that is so crazy, and I've got a crazy Kev West man crush story that I'm going to tell here in a few minutes. I know it gets ugly, but first, Kev, when you were making those snarky comments on 98 Rocks, I mean, because you were snarky, did you ever envision being the managing partner of anything?
Initially, snark was my game, and then I got into management in radio, and I realized that that's actually the primary tool in management is a large supply of snark. So yeah, I never planned to be on the other side of the microphone, but back in the day, I did mornings, and the only way to really make more money was to take on more responsibility and actually not leave the building at 10 o'clock in the morning, but stay all day and then corral people around microphones at a specific daytime slot every single day, which qualifies me, I would say, completely to do what I do now, because I've been wrangling people towards microphones since I was managing rock radio many years ago. And And I never, when I left radio, I never even envisioned making any money at voiceover, much less be doing what I'm doing now. So it's a long trail. I think we all have a similar weird path that we've taken, right?
Yeah.
Was that the impetus for investing in an online casting site? Your experience with wrangling people towards microphones?
I started out as just like everybody, as just a solo voice person. I left radio after many years because it became, anyone who's worked for corporate radio, it became something that it wasn't before. It wasn't fun for me anymore.
Oh, yeah.
2 words, bottom line.
Jeff Bell, who was one of the DJs back in the day at 98 Rocks, is the voice of Ford Trucks. And I called Jeff, and he said, "What you got to do, man, is get into voiceover." And I did. And then once I cut a couple spots, the guy who was my single client said, "Do you have a girl that does voiceover?" And I'm like, "Well, yeah." And then I went and told my wife that she was now a voiceover person as well. And then, it just grew from there. They started requesting different voices other than mine. I started casting through a studio called Blue Streak Voiceover Productions. We're Blue Streak Studios, producing mostly car spots. So it was a lot of hiring, and I do production. I was also an imaging guy back in the day at radio, production manager, before I got into program directing. And interestingly, was the voice of the local television station, Kevin, KTAL-TV, which meant back then you were called a booth announcer.
Right.
And you did a lot of audio production. So I came to it via production and having to hire other people to fulfill the needs of the spots that I was producing. And then a couple years ago, someone called and needed some help casting, and she happened to own VOplanet.com and was about to retire and go into the ministry. And she hit me with a proposal about taking that over because there was maybe 40 members left on the site, and she just didn't want to turn it off. And we thought long and hard about it. The girlfriend that I first hired for our first voiceover job is now my wife, and we owned the company together, and we decided to make a go of it, and here we are today.
That's fantastic, man.
Yeah, and much respected at that, I have to add. I mean, when you hear VO Planet these days, you should have good rates in there, because I think so many people you're kind of like, you have the ethics, the morals, the good jobs, and, you're not hiding anything from anyone.
When we stepped in, it was right when the whole VDC debacle was hitting the fan yet again, and Voice Strong had risen. And, we came into it and we said, what can we do in the face of all this pushback on pay-to-play? And it was very obvious. We even subjected ourselves to a few of the Facebook groups. I threw myself into that, not knowing what I was getting into. People were very angry about pay-to-play at that time. And we just asked, what would make it better? It was obvious to me because I've been a member of Voice 123 since I started in 2005 as a voice talent and then casting. And I had an idea, of what could be made better. And this is before they did what they did, and had kind of delved into voices.com. So we had an idea of how it worked, and we had a strong idea, because this is 2016 going into 2017, what people were mad about. And we just decided to make VO Planet, obviously, be transparent, honest, and get better jobs. Stop the race to the bottom, and all the things that are obvious that were wrong, and giving pay-to-play a black eye at that time. So that was our template. It was just what people in the voice community wanted or were upset about at that time. So it was pretty obvious.
What makes VO Planet stand apart from the rest?
Well, you start with, we don't take any fees out of the jobs. We don't get in between the money and the talent. One of the things people said they wanted was to work direct. And simply not getting in the way of the money is such a great form of crystal clear transparency. When there's doubts about how much money is being taken out of those fees, especially because of what another platform was doing at that time. So we don't take fees. We feel like voice people are entrepreneurs. They can manage their own money. We don't need to take 20% so they get paid.
Yeah.
We do not allow underbidding, which is one of the big deals that you see on other pay-to-play sites. And that was a problem because you go in, post a gig, and invariably people are bidding to the bottom. So we eliminated that, which is just no way to do it on VO Planet. People are often not happy with posted fees, so we said, hey, go ahead. And if you're, more expensive, say so. And that's okay. You can bid what you like, what you think you're worth. That's uncommon among pay-to-plays. We're professionals only, and unlike Voice 123, if you got a credit card, you can go on and, call yourself a voice talent. And so vetting our voice people is another difference. We're mom and pop, literally operated. Literally mom and pop. I mean, mom just left with the kids, so I can do this in a quiet house, sans seagulls, of course. We're not, which means we're not corporately owned, so we don't owe anything to anyone other than ourselves, and we're not having to jump through hoops to make projections. We don't have to charge $4.99 or $3.99 and $5,000 for platinum fees, which we have no platinum levels, by the way. So all that stuff to me kind of makes us, I'd like to say, the craft beer among corporate beer giants.
Ooh, like that metaphor.
With you saying that you don't take the bottom feeders or whatever you want to call them, looking at your roster, you have some really strong veterans in there. And are you seeing a variety of talent booking with those auditions that you're putting out there, Kevin? Or are the seasoned veterans getting more of that? And the other question was, are most of your jobs exclusive to VO Planet, or are you sharing kind of like the agents do?
What we're seeing is surprising because you would think that these names that you see floating around would nail down every job.
Yeah.
What's great about voiceover is sometimes they're not looking for something obvious or something that's been heard a lot. So somebody that's a little more quirky or unknown will pick up a gig. I don't think that even the if you will, name talents that are on VO Planet are that different in the amount of talent they have. Maybe they're just not as well known. So everybody's getting a little taste, hopefully, and that's the goal. What was the second part of your question? I'm sorry.
Are the jobs that you do post, are those exclusive to you, or are you sharing auditions like some of the agents do?
Here's what we've done. Obviously, you can run an ad and maybe people will start posting jobs on your site. We've gone specifically after certain agencies and companies and e-learning companies, specific ones that are considered top. So we're recruiting, we're handpicking our clients, so along with doing SEO and other things that might attract walk-in traffic. But we're handpicking those jobs. Can I speak to where else they're posting? I've not seen more than a couple of jobs, say, posted across the road. In the couple of years that we've been at this, we can't control that necessarily. We can't say to a client, no, if you post with us, you can't post anywhere else. We're too new.
Yeah.
I can't turn it down right now because job one, and this is written on the wall here, is jobs. That's in big capital letters. Once we get to a point where we can be pickier about that, I would love to be able to say no, and you can only post it here. But we feel like most of those jobs are exclusive. I'm not seeing them elsewhere. They're good jobs. They're often in the 3, 4, 5 figures or upper. And although we are not posting $50 or $20, $100 jobs a day, in fact, we turn those down. We feel the quality of the clients that are coming through make up for that lack of basically volume, and we would prefer it that way. I think that's every voice person would rather do, say, a couple of $2,000 jobs rather than $40, $100 jobs on any given day.
Absolutely.
Skip-it-a-boop-ba-ba.
I know you probably hope so, but are the pay-to-plays here to stay?
Well, there's one that's on fire, and there's people rushing with pitchforks at another, so at least 2 of them are not going to be around much longer. And we're okay with that because we're coming right up alongside the ship with a lifeboat, and everyone's welcome to jump in. And the straight answer is yeah, because it's just the way things are done. Just think of Amazon. People want to go on, type in this, and then a whole list of those to choose from pops up, rather than, if I want pipe cleaners. I don't know why I chose pipe cleaners. I would rather just go to Amazon and type that in rather than Google it and then go to each company individually and then email them individually.
Right.
So there's a lot of people that are turned on just by the automation of shopping, getting a big stack of results, and that plays to the mechanics of pay to play. Obviously, too, there's people that are cherry picking talent who would rather do it themselves, and you can do that too with our search engine, just by typing in the parameters of the voice. And with that in mind, I think pay to play is going to be around. We just have to make sure that we're doing it properly. And I think that the way it can be done improperly is obvious, and those that are not rising to the occasion may not survive. You want to ask me if I think specific platforms are going to make it? Because I'll speak my mind on that.
Sure.
Oh, don't hold back.
What have I done? Okay. Well, I mean, we could go to town all day long about what Voice 123 did when they made the change. They will obviously survive that. I don't understand why they haven't apologized. I do understand that it's difficult to change over a website with thousands of people on it and tens and hundreds of thousands of MP3s loaded in and do that smoothly. But it went beyond just the obvious changeover problems. And I was okay with that too until the lack of apology. And I thought, if this were me and I were standing on that stage and someone was asking me, am I sorry? Well, hell yeah, I'm sorry. We didn't mean for that to happen. I've been a member of that platform for many, many years, and things were happening that obviously were bugs and glitches. And when that happens, the first thing you do is you come out with your hat in your hand or your bandana and just follow me, man. And you say, I'm sorry. And then you do your best to fix it as soon as possible. So I think they will. And at some point, an apology is going to come across, but it may be too late. Voices, dude, I am so not into them. I hope that with what's springing up around, not just VO Planet, I like what Armin's doing. My opinion is still out on what Matt is doing, but I would prefer to see those people, and along with VO Planet, rise, and for Voices just to go away based on just moral character and what they've done.
Right. Can I share a story? I guess I could share a story with regards to Voices.com, where I found that they took a chunk of money that was earmarked for the talent on the gig. So I got a national documentary gig from Voices.com. I'm not going to mention who it was. And did the gig. They said, Kev, they want you. The rate is X number. I'll just say the rate is X number. And did the gig, got paid from Voices.com. A couple of months later, I get some paperwork in from this national documentary producer. And it was just, for me to sign off that they have use in perpetuity and all the different, whatever, all the contract agreement stuff is. And they had in there the money that was earmarked for the talent. And I'm like, wow, that's funny. I only saw 2/3 of that from Voices.com. And I asked Voices.com about that, and they, that's part of the managing. And I said, so it's like just an arbitrary number managing? Yeah, that's just kind of how it goes. So, they ended up taking several $100s from me that was earmarked for the talent. And is that the kind of thing that you're talking about, Kev?
Wow.
First of all, I'm just outraged for you. And I don't understand. You would think that, paying, what is it, $400 a year, or what is your platinum, $5,000, and then a straight 20%, isn't that enough?
Yeah, this was a third.
Okay, well, that's too much, and that's one business model, and it worked very well, obviously. Here's the problem with that, is the clients just don't realize, and that's what we're facing. As a company, we go out looking for jobs just like you do, and we're knocking on doors. No, we use Voices.com. They don't know. If you explain it, they're surprised by, well, they didn't realize that fees were being taken out of the deal. So that's the thing. If you're going to take funds, say it up front. Everyone agrees, everyone's happy, and that's it. I don't know why did it have to get so complicated? Well, when you take an $18 million loan or you have corporate partners who expect quarterly reports and all that stuff, you got to look for extra ways to make money, I have to assume. And this is why we just decided to forego all of that at VO Planet, because it creates too much confusion. And honestly, that has to be quite a temptation. And we're just not going to put ourselves in that position. So yeah, I would hope, just based on everything that's happened, that would just go away. That's one that I think we could all live without, probably.
Transparency is so key. I mean, nobody wants to be lied to in anything in life. So just be open about it. Don't hide it, because that's always going to leave a bad feeling. But we call ourselves the Middle Class VO Podcast, Kevin, because Kevin and I are both, kind of established in the business. We're making a living of it. But you also have on the other end people who listen to our podcast who are just starting out. And a lot of them are on Fiverr or, some of the other dirt cheap places. What do you say to them? They want to make a living. They can't compete yet for the bigger jobs. So they're taking the Fiverr jobs just to get something, on audio. What do you say to them as somebody from VO Planet?
First of all, I feel you, because I started out with a microphone on a broomstick in a one-bedroom apartment at my kitchen table with a blanket over my head, and this is after leaving Clear Channel and starting out on my true. I mean, and anything you could get was just, especially when you have zero income, that's a scary thing. You step out on your own, You have no checks coming in, you've been working for the man for 20 straight years, and you're out there.
My name is Jimmy, I'll take what you gimme.
Yeah, well, maybe that. If you go to Fiverr, it's tough. You've really got to stand up for yourself, and that's hard to do in the beginning, and I understand why people go to certain sites. And in the process, lowering the rates for everybody across the board. It's a tough thing to explain to people who just want to make, enough money to eat. But I would not suggest that people go to those sites where every single kind of freelancer is represented. There are voice sites that are especially for freelancers, and what do you do? Do you get angry when you see the Fiverr ads like I do? Because I do. I get angry. I'm like, wow, really?
But I also look at, like, Toys R Us went out of business because their prices were too high.
Sorry, not sorry.
And you made the Amazon analogy before. And now what people could have paid, $35 at Toys R Us, they can get for half as much at Amazon or Walmart or Target. So there's always going to be those clients out there that want to pay less. So it's always going to be there. I guess you just have to become educated and stand up for what's right for you, right?
I think, too, what happens is naturally any client or voice buyer that's booking through, say, Fiverr, and is trying to compete. Say you're going to a pitch meeting and you've got your voiceover and it's all produced, and you're going up against another ad agency that actually took time to hire someone that's a little more experienced, and maybe they paid a lot more for their voiceover, but they win the account with that. Okay? It's just like anything. The more you spend on something, the more you invest in something, especially in a competitive situation like, say, advertising. Walking in with a Fiverr voice versus walking in with one of the top VO Planet voices is a whole nother world. And I think through losing accounts or going to battle with other agencies, after a while you realize, I need to up my game. What can I do? I need better video. I need better written scripts. I need a better voice talent. And so this is not doing it anymore. I think anyone who books voices who is on the rise may start with those low-paying talents or low-paid talents, but eventually, in order to compete, they're going to have to do better. And there's always going to be that undercurrent of people that are working that cheap. We can't make that go away. We can't.
Right.
It's just impossible. So, hats off to anyone who's quit their job, and is making a living. But I would suggest that you start making a living before you quit your job, and unlike what I did. And then you don't have to rely on Fiverr or the low-paying people.
Well, Kev, we're going to let you go here in just a minute. But before we go, I got to tell my Kev West man crush story. So there I was, knee-high to a coyote in Magnolia, Arkansas, trying to improve my radio career. I'd only been in it for a couple of years. And I'm riding around the Southern Arkansas University campus, home of the Mule Riders. I wish I was making that up. And I was riding around with my theater friend, Penny White, and we're talking about my radio. She's a good friend of mine. She's a theater gal, and she was all about, helping me get better in my radio career. And she was like, you just need, you sound like you're talking loud or something. She couldn't nail it down. She couldn't nail down that I was announcing and not talking. And she's like, so listen to this guy. See this guy right here? Listen to him. He sounds like he's right in the seat next to you. And that was not, and she's talking about a conversational delivery. She was talking about none other than Kevin West from 98 Rocks in Shreveport, Louisiana.
Oh, my. Well, there you go, right? Honestly, I miss radio completely. I do. Mm-hmm. It was fun. It was my career for over 20 years. But it gave me a firm foundation for this because, you do your show, then you go into production and you cut spots. And I would go in there and just not come out for hours. And people may not have realized that. But I fell in love with audio production through my job at radio and became then the commercial guy. And I could literally just spend hours in there. So my fantasy at that time was, I wish I just had a little room in my house. And this is before the internet. And people would I pictured a fax machine or something, or just people slipping copy under my door and producing spots all day long. And then, you fast forward sometime later, that's what my career turned into. And I couldn't have asked for a better training ground than those days back entertaining you in Magnolia, Arkansas, and playing those songs, getting paid $200 a week and all the free concert tickets you can eat. So that to me is why I feel like people like yourself and Bobby that come from radio are so successful at voiceover because we've been doing this for a long time. It's the perfect way to get started in the business. Of course, you have to go down the line and get someone to beat the radio out of you eventually.
Exactly.
But yeah, I had no idea that was you when I was talking to you at the time.
Isn't that hilarious?
You touched on this on the Facebook page, your VO Planet Facebook page, that you have some things in the work, and I think you had mentioned that Armin was doing something kind of similar. Can you tease a little bit about what's down the road for VO Planet?
Yeah, the algorithm thing happens when you've got so many people auditioning for a single job. And we started thinking about SmartCast and ways that people have filtered those auditions. They have platinum memberships where people see things first. And another issue that we're running into is that people that join tag themselves as everything. I'm French, I am American, I can do narration, audiobooks, animation, all these things. Unfortunately, not everyone is as strong in certain genres of voiceover as others, or they're not really doing a lot of work in those genres. So we thought, what would be a great equalizer or a way to tell if someone was seriously, say, an audiobook narrator? Well, obviously you would have a professional demo in that genre. Are you an imaging guy? Oh, absolutely. Let me hear your demo. I don't have one. Well, you obviously are not working on a level that we're trying to attract. So it came down to demos. Do they have the demos for the genre? And so we're working on a means of having, and I'm not explaining it scientifically because I'm not the web guy. I stumble in and I say, make it come out, and they do. But we're working on a way of making the tags specific to the professional demos that you have in your collection. And we're working on a means of filtering those jobs that are specifically for certain genres of voiceover to those people that are actually doing that kind of work and not just saying that they're doing that kind of work. Have we figured it all out yet? No. We're working on that now. I started working on this back in January. Then we saw that another, Armin is working on something similar. And I've reached out to Armin and told him what's going on. I'm like, dude, we're doing this too. And what it is, and his response was, I'm not the only one that can come up with great ideas. So
yeah, he's going to say, I know it was more than that.
Well, I think he said a couple of F-bombs. And we both agree. And I admire Bodalgo, by the way, and their business model is dead on. So we're going to figure out a way to make it fair for those people that actually do qualify for specific genres and to filter out those that don't. This is going to end up with a better result for our clients, which means, if they're getting stronger auditions, they're going to come back to VO Planet. What we can't have is folks that are saying, I've got people auditioning across gender, or across languages or dialects, because they're just trying to make a buck. So they're going to try out for every job they can, whether they're actually qualified for it or not. So we're going to figure out a way to fix that. So when the client's going through that list, they're not hearing these strange things. I can't say we've got the best voices out there, and then they hear oddities or people that are not qualified. So that's one of the things we're doing. And there's other things to come that I can't quite talk about yet because it'd be revealing secrets to our competitors that I am not comfortable. Ooh. Yes.
Hashtag tease.
Yes. So the main thing is, and I want to say this, I have been listening to you both for many years. Bobby and I have done work together before, even before VO Planet. And I appreciate you guys thinking of me and inviting me to come on the Middle Class VO podcast. I feel like I'm in the same boat as you guys. I'm still on the way up. I'm by no means making gobs of money. We live in an average size house in an average neighborhood. I have, the average amount of kids, a couple of dogs, and there's a great number of us across the United States that are just good old meat and taters voice people, and doing the best we can at what we love. And I am certainly a member of the Middle Class VO group of folks. So I appreciate your show and what you're doing and the things you're talking about.
Well, thank you for saying that, Kev. It's been great to have you on.
Awesome. Can you open the door now and hear those seagulls so we can kind of go out in style?
I have to walk all the way across my illustrious studio to open that window again.
Milk crates full of albums, vinyl albums.
I still have over 200 98 Rocks T-shirts.
What? I'm an XL.
Wait a minute. I'm sorry. A T-shirt is on the way. I'm sorry. I'm a bit distracted. I think there's also a pelican among this crowd.
Aw, share it.
Look, that seagull only has one leg. What do you think?
His nickname is Hoppy.
Yeah.
Closing the door. This has been a blast. And listen, this is my first, I hope that this went well because I've never done a podcast. This is the first time I've done anything even close to radio since I walked out in 2005. I am nervous as could be before I came in, and you guys made me feel so comfortable. So thank you.
Kevin, thanks so much for your time. And I know it went longer than 20 minutes, but it's been great catching up with you and sharing stories, man.
Thanks, Kevin.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Bobby. Thanks for having me on, and I look forward to checking out the next episode of the Middle Class VO podcast. Thank you so much.
Have a good one. Enjoy the beach. Bye.
What a treat. What a pleasure to have him on. Kevin West, VOplanet.com. It's right there, the site, VOplanet.com. Go check them out. They are seeking out talent all the time, but you've got to be good. You've got to be established. And he is changing the pay-to-play model, and we're all for it, Bobby.
Yeah, and we're going to kind of skip over to another division, if you will, coming up next week with Phil Sutphin, who's one of the managing partners of ACM Talent, talking about management and agents, which is going to be totally different from P2P.
Absolutely. That'll be on the next episode of the Middle Class VO podcast. In the meantime,
break a lip.
The Middle Class VO podcast is a K2 Media Productions production.
All views and opinions expressed are those of the hosts and guests. The McVob jingle was written and produced by Kevin.
Co-produced and performed by Chloe Dolandis.
Additional engineering by Zach Zimmett.
Bobby's hair and makeup by Rebecca Adlita.
Kevin's wardrobe by Slippery Pete's Fashion Emporium.
All previous episodes are available for download on Podbean.
For the Middle Class VO podcast, I'm Tracy Thibodeau.
I'm Lisa Luperi.
Thanks for listening.
And don't miss the next episode of the Middle Class VO podcast. The Middle Class VO podcast.
Coming up next week with Phil Sutphin, who is the one of the. Sorry, Kevin. I think I said his name wrong.
go ahead and say that. You know, one of the partners of ACM Talent or whatever you want to say. Suffering succotash, Bobby.
Stop.
Love you, Phil. Love you, Phil. Love you, Phil.